Because when I was about 6, 7, I had told my mom we're watching the Olympic Games, and I was like, that's where I'm going to be one day. You are so much bigger than being just an athlete. Once you're a couple of meters underwater, they are the demons you have to face.
Hey, welcome back to Setting the Pace. We're here for episode 3, and I'm so excited for today's guest. And I feel like this conversation is going to be really good for anyone that's interested in learning how important play is in your life. If you're currently having any identity crisis and you want to hear from someone who recently went through one and how they became stronger for it, and how sports was the guiding force through all of that. So really excited. Before we jump into it, I'd like to thank Malta Camera Rental for the amazing podcast setup. They are so professional and they've really just made and helped me bring all of this to life. So thank you very much. And Litos Place for this outstanding studio that we're very lucky to use and host the podcast in, and everyone else who's been a part of this, my dad, and so thank you very, very, very much. Hi, I'm Maria, and welcome to Setting the Pace. This podcast was born out of the curiosity to understand the mindset behind the outcomes we spend years chasing, be it in sports, business, relationships, and everything in between. I want to learn more about the person you become and achieving anything that's worth your time, and how you can set the pace to get exactly there. Okay, so Nicola Muscat, welcome
Hello.
to Setting the Pace. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you. This is amazing. And I'm so honored to be here as one of your first. So thank you for having me.
Thanks. I really, really appreciate it. So for those who don't know, Nikki is a 2-time Olympian swimmer who represented Malta in 2012 and then 2016.
Mm-hmm.
She's also a free diver. She's a freelance swimming coach. She does underwater stunts. Basically, wherever there's water, you're gonna find Nikki.
Making me blush already.
When it comes to land, quite different. But anything water related, Nikki's your girl. Okay, so I want to jump right into it. Well, dive right into it, and I want to take you back to 2016. You've just finished your last Olympics. You touch the wall, fly down to Malta, and kind of reality sets in. Can you walk me through what that felt like? So kind of going from that high as a professional athlete to realizing, okay, now I'm back to earth and basically, like a lot of other people, just gonna live a normal life. So what was that like?
That's a very heavy loaded question. I actually
want to get straight to the point.
I actually flew straight to the States for a quick holiday, and that's how it suddenly started to dawn on me.
Okay.
I knew I was done the moment I touched in Rio. There was no questioning that, and that was the first time I really felt that. But it was a huge, wouldn't even call it a wake-up call. It's just a massive identity crisis that lasted quite a while.
Okay. How old were you?
I had just turned 22.
Okay.
So obviously all my friends kind of had started getting it together, and where do you go after the Olympics? How much higher can I get? That's how I saw it back then. Okay. How can I go higher than this? How is life going to be better than this? So it was really like, what now? How do I restart after this? Because it really felt like restarting my life all over again.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess that's what we're about to delve into now.
Okay, and so was it because you didn't know what to do next, or was it because, okay, if I'm not a swimmer, kind of who am I? Mm-hmm. What was going through your head?
I feel like every decision I had made up to that age, so up to 22, was based around swimming.
Okay.
So every step of the way was for swimming, because I had started when I was 4. So once that was over, there was nothing else guiding me. There was nothing, there was no decision based on that anymore. So I did have something else in my life because I was studying, and obviously I had a normal social life, or maybe let's call it normal for now. But it did feel like I don't know. I don't know how to get there, and I don't know what
you
I
fit.
yeah, exactly. And I don't know who am I if I'm not Nikki the swimmer, because to this day people still call me Nikki the and I don't mind, because that's still part of me. But back then it was completely who I was, and now it's just one of the many parts of who I am, I guess.
Okay. That's really interesting. And I can somewhat relate because I used to swim as well. And till today, in some of my friends' phones, I'm Maria the swimmer.
Exactly.
And I mean, it's been almost 12 years since I swam competitively. I still swim, but it's different. And
Yeah.
it's so funny how I think when you're young, that identity is really important. Like I felt like really cool, like I'm the swimmer, and and I think you also kind
Yeah.
of felt the same, but on a bit of a different level. What was so going back now to young Nikki, what was a day in your life when you were at junior school and then eventually senior school? Like, what did that look like?
All throughout, it felt very normal for me because I didn't have, there was no other option. I grew up in it, so it always felt completely normal. And I guess part of it was, but for junior school, it was going to school and then going to swimming and then having to do my homework at 6 p.m. when everyone else would be probably ready, because I'd finish swimming at 6 and start probably around 7. So I'd end up always finishing a bit late. But then once senior school started, I started swimming before school, like you did,
Yeah.
and after school.
So 5 a.m. and then at
Exactly.
3:30 you're
And
back in the
then,
water.
exactly. So it started to get really, really busy. But again, that still felt very normal for me. And I was one of the ones who begged my coach to start letting me turn up at 5:30, 6 a.m. in the morning, because it was so exciting at the time. That only lasted about a couple of months.
Okay.
But yeah, just super busy. And it remained the same forever, because till 22 I was training even 3 times a day sometimes.
Wow.
So yeah, there was no option to be going out with my friends most days. It was just, yeah.
What you knew.
Yeah.
And was there a moment where you realized, okay, I think I have the potential to be really good at this? Or was you just were enjoying it, and then one day you were like, okay, cool, I can kind of swim fast, and let's see where this goes?
It's actually quite funny, because when I was quite young, I had this idea that, you know how in school, if you get a higher grade, it means you're doing better. I really thought that if my time was higher, it meant I was doing really well.
It's the opposite.
And I would run up to my mom and be like, Mom, I added 10 seconds. So good. So it took a while to actually hit. But when I broke my arm when I was 12, I took a really big hit because I loved it so much. Not because I was extremely good at it yet, but I took a big hit because I missed it so much.
Okay.
And right after I recovered from that, I broke my first national record right after. And then right after that, I competed for my first international games. I was still 12, and it was a competition that you're aware of, FISEC. And it was hosted in Malta, and I did so well at that. And that was the first time I really thought to myself,
I can do this.
maybe this is, I can actually do this. Because when I was about 6, 7, I had told my mom we're watching the Olympic Games, and I was like, that's where I'm going to be one day.
Wow.
And then at that point I was like, maybe it can actually happen.
It's so funny because I remember watching the Olympics, but I never said, okay, that's going to be me in a few years.
It's so weird because I was so young. I don't know where that came from. I think it was just the excitement of the games and seeing like such elite sport. You know, when you're young, you're quite influenced by it. I think many kids would say that if they're like, you know, getting really excited about it. But it's crazy that it actually happened.
So basically, up until 22, your life is just swimming. So you're not going out partying with friends. I mean,
I'm not saying that I didn't, but yeah, it was very seasonal.
Swimming it's like you had a full-time job from a very young age, that being swimming. And obviously, you could never break away from it, because if you did, then you'd lose seconds and then you'd lose training. And I used to have a coach who, I'm talking about, who I'd say if you miss one swimming session, it's like you miss a week.
Yeah.
So I used to really panic. I'm like, oh my God, I just lost 2 weeks. So I can somewhat understand.
Yeah.
So then going back to what you were saying, like about the Olympics, and you came back, and you came back and you didn't know what you wanted to do or what was next. And that loss of identity, did you try and kind of fill it up with more swimming? Or did you say, okay, I'm going to completely go into something different now? I'm no longer a swimmer. I'm putting that aside. What were those next steps like?
My first step was traveling.
Okay.
It was my first introduction into solo travel, and obviously drawn to the water straight away. And it was my first time really noticing or waking up to the reality of our waste issues in the world. And that was my first kind of love into conservation. But as soon as I was done with that, I instantly started coaching one of the squads for one of the clubs in Malta. And I instantly felt like my joy for swimming had shifted into the joy of teaching and watching other people actually love and enjoy the water, and trying to pass on everything I had learned and things that I wish I had known before. And that gave me a lot of joy. So it instantly went into that. And I was graduating at the time, so I was studying nursing. So I was doing those two things at the same time. I was teaching a lot and graduating in nursing.
Okay. And what was nursing like? Like that next phase of you're no longer a swimmer, you're coaching on the side, but everyone around you is like, listen, you need to just get back to reality now. Like, the Olympics are behind you. You're no longer a swimmer. You need a real job. You need to kind of get your together.
Yeah, it was a bit scary, I'm not gonna lie. So it's like, now it's over and this is what I'm doing for the rest of my life. I wasn't very excited for that. I love nursing and I still do. Even though I don't practice it. I just love being with people and caring and talking to them. But I knew somehow that that wasn't fully for me.
But what did that feel like? That feeling like you were at work and you'd feel a bit vacant, or you were just...
Like I was doing something wrong. Like somehow everyone else was fitting in and I just wasn't. And I kept feeling really out of place. Usually the pool was my home, my safe space where I felt like truly myself, where I came alive. And suddenly that got taken away from me. And I kept feeling like I was out of place and people are saying, this is normal, this is what everyone else is doing.
So you just kept on waiting to fit in?
To feel it, to feel like this is it, you know? But looking back, obviously, a bit of a not normal job, but like a 9 to 5 doesn't really fit who I am.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to fit the mold.
Okay.
And it just wasn't working.
Yeah. So that was like kind of phase one of identity crisis was coming back from the Olympics and saying, I'm no longer a professional swimmer.
Yeah, and trying to fit into normality.
Yeah. And for you, the only profession out there was being a swimmer. And then now you're suddenly not that.
Yeah.
So where do I go next? And then kind of phase 2 of the identity crisis is going into nursing, thinking, okay, this is going to be the last puzzle piece. And actually it kind of broke everything apart.
Yeah. And it was so confusing because I truly did love it. I do love caring for people. And I would still consider being a nurse again, maybe in a different stage of my life. But at the same time, it was confusing because I loved it, but I knew there was something missing. And I've always known I wanted to like do something really big with my life. And I'm not saying that it's not, but I just wanted something different.
Okay.
Something that isn't 9 to 5, or I love doing a lot of things at the same time, being really busy, like starting projects, as you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just not fitting. So I just needed to figure out my next step into finding who I was next, who's Nikki now.
Okay.
You know.
And so, correct me if I'm wrong. So then you decide, okay, I'm gonna leave nursing.
Yep.
What was the ripple effects of that? Like even kind of with your close relationships? Because I mean, if it was me and I tell my family, my friends, like, listen, I'm gonna stop something, there's gonna be a bit of resistance, a bit of hesitation, especially after studying. And what was that like?
Yeah, it happened pretty quickly.
Okay.
So people were a bit shocked because I had, studied for a while and put in a lot of hours into it. But it happened because I decided to volunteer in the Philippines, and I lived there for just over 5 months. And that was my introduction to marine conservation and how much I truly loved it. And that was when I got my first freediving course. So that was the first time I got certified. And I feel like there was no returning after that. Coming home from that and really watching firsthand the damage that we're doing to the planet. And it just felt like I just couldn't sit still anymore, you know. So after a few months, I was quite miserable, not because I didn't love it, but because there was something calling me so strongly away from it. And I knew I wasn't down my right path, you know it inside when you're not. So I resigned.
I love the giggle.
Because everyone's reaction, you know, you just graduated and you've resigned.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Which is not an easy thing to do, because
No, I
the
remember it
mold
being
is like stick it out,
yeah,
which isn't a bad thing, you know. Like sometimes you do need someone to remind you, like, listen, this is why you're doing it. But
yeah,
I guess you really have to trust yourself.
yeah.
Which is
There's a difference between powering through when it's hard, I think, and powering through when you know there's something wrong.
Okay.
Really listening to yourself and knowing that there's something wrong, then that's when I think.
And what
you
is
know.
that differentiation for you? Like, is that something you learned through swimming, or it's just...
Swimming taught me a lot of that, because there were so many days where, like, a lot of people say this, how do you find the motivation to wake up every morning? You don't.
No.
No one is like, yay, let's go swim. It's like freezing outside. No.
Yeah. Or for anything that's hard.
Exactly.
whether it's work or-
Exactly. Any workout that you don't feel like doing, if you've had a bad day, you know, it's just the habits. It's just committing to something and committing to what it's going to take to get you there, and knowing that it's going to get hard. But if the end goal feels right to you and it's aligned to your path, then you can power through. If
Yeah.
not, then don't power through.
Yeah.
Maybe you're doing it wrong.
And does that come from like visualizing kind of future you? So like, because I don't know, I learned this from swimming. I'm so goal oriented. If I know the goal, I can figure it out, because I know which way I'm going.
Yeah.
And that's something I had to learn, because I remember Gail Rizzo telling us, think of your race. Like, think of every moment of your race,
Yeah.
like jumping in, taking your first breath, kicking and whatever. So even today at work, if someone tells me, listen, you need to do X, Y, Z, I'm like, but what's the goal?
I
So
love
my,
that.
my brain is wired like that.
Yeah.
So do you think that maybe with nursing, kind of that's why you found it hard to really connect with it, because you just couldn't see the
end
future of
goal.
it and the goal of it?
I really connected with what you just said, because I really do that. I almost take it to a whole new level. So again, just to take one step back, if there was anything I could tell myself back then when I was trying to figure it out and later on, I just would really trust the process. You know,
Hard to do though when you're in
when
it.
you're in it. I know, but if I could tell myself one thing, you know, the universe is gonna align. The universe wants you to succeed. It's not holding you back. You know, you just have to trust it and go through the process of actually trying all the things. Try to figure it out, and that's what I'm so happy I did. Like, trying everything. Yeah, as you said, with nursing, maybe I didn't see the end goal, but I knew that deep down there was an end goal inside of me that was very different. It was the sea that had been always calling me since I was young. Like, my dream when I was about anywhere between 12 to 15 was to be a marine biologist. So I knew deep down that there was something else,
Yeah.
you know, waiting.
So then, knowing that, why did you go into nursing? Was it like, 'cause you're like, okay, it's just going to give me that I'm a nurse, I'm Nikki the nurse, and then I don't need to continue searching, I'm done? Like, was it that, or was it just like, what was the, because if you know all these things, or
Yeah.
you knew like the sea is water, somehow has to be connected, and you literally chose somewhere where you're closed. I mean, it's an amazing job, and
Yes, of
nurses
course.
do such a fantastic job, but
Yeah.
you're like literally in a 4x4 room, nowhere next to the sea.
Actually, I was underground for
Okay.
a long time, so
Okay.
that hit hard with me. I think it was a lot of influence around me. My father's a doctor. My
Okay.
brother's also a doctor.
Okay.
So
That's what you saw as getting
very
it together.
prestigious.
Yes.
It means success. It means you've made, in Malta especially as well, we have a very big inclination towards medicine. And of course, it's very hard. It's a very hard job.
Yeah.
And it's an honor to be able to treat people in that way. So when I was kind of, I wouldn't say vulnerable is the wrong word, but again, swimming was my life. So every decision I made was based on swimming. So if studying nursing meant that I was going to be able to continue that, then it was fine. I was so deeply into the sport that really big life decision at the time didn't feel like a big life decision. It was like, okay, the next thing
Just figure it
to
out.
keep swimming, you
Okay.
know. It sounds really silly now, I know, looking back, I'm like, what were you thinking? But of course, as a
Hindsight,
16, 17-year-old, where that's your priority, it's just on the sidelines. Graduating is on the sidelines. My brain didn't connect the puzzle of, once this ends, this is the rest of your life. It's really funny now.
Yeah. And it's so funny because it never is the rest of your life.
Yeah, and that's what we're told, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's something that I really fought hard. It's
Yeah.
not the rest of your life.
Yeah. I mean, it obviously comes down to as well who's kind of cheering you on and who's not. And I think some people can use that as a fire to keep going, and some people it can kind of capsize them a bit. So I guess character and all these things
Yeah.
come into place. Okay, so you decide to leave nursing, you go abroad, you volunteer, you do free diving, and then I know that you had a few other businesses that you opened, like
Yeah.
you did Nikki Nutrition, where you were helping people with their nutrition. You also had Alka, which was the seaweed process, where you were trying to grow seaweed.
Where everyone thought I had officially lost the plot. They already had a feeling before, but then it hit home. Everyone looked at me
Yeah.
like,
I mean,
this is what she's done.
taking a step back, so you went from an Olympic swimmer, a nurse, and then you were like, Ma, Dad, I'm going backpacking and I'm going to do free diving. Back then, free diving isn't like now, there's like Netflix documentaries. It's a
Exactly.
new hot thing. Nobody knew. You come back and you were like, okay, so seaweed. Let's grow it and replace plastic.
I really want to meet my past self in person.
So it's quite interesting. I mean, I didn't have anything similar to you, but I can see how at every stage everyone is just like graduating, doing this, and you're like still in the weeds, basically, like seaweed
Literally.
of it. And I can understand how maybe people around you are like, listen, like stop messing around,
yeah.
get your life together.
Yeah.
But in all of those things, so from being a nurse and then going abroad and then opening one business, two business, you started to slowly gain the confidence to be like, I think I need to have my own thing.
Yeah.
And that eventually led you to kind of coaching and having your own like clients and
Yeah.
whatever. So, but I know that in between that, because we spoke, you kind of lost yourself and you just wanted nothing to do with swimming.
Yeah.
So what did that feel like?
So there was a big gap there where I didn't swim at all.
In fact, I have on my notes at 27, Nikki needs to sort things out.
But it was so strong, that call back to it, that call of trying to find your identity again. That in 2019, at the end of it, as soon as I had retired from nursing and I was starting Alka, I went back to swimming.
Okay.
And it's like, it sounds really funny now because it did me a world of good. But it's like having that toxic boyfriend that's like calling you and luring you back in. And you know this isn't the right path for you, but you do it anyway. And suddenly you're expecting a different outcome, but it's just the same outcome.
It's going to work. It's going to work. This is my project.
This is it. This is who I am. I don't want to be anyone else. I want to go back to who I was, you know.
Okay.
And it takes strong people to kind of guide you away from that path.
Yeah. And just to let go. Like, I'm not that past self. Like,
Yeah.
although you loved it and you can't recreate it. Like,
Yeah. But it honestly is like, I think when you reach the peak, obviously it felt like the Olympics was the peak. It really felt like I can't do anything bigger and better than this. So it really does
what's the
take
point kind of thing.
Yeah, it does take someone strong to guide you away from it and show you that there's so much more. It sounds really funny now, but there's so much more than your sport out there. And if someone had told me that at 18, I would have been like, there's nothing bigger than this. What are you on about? But there's a world, and sport and you being an athlete is so much bigger, you know, like you are so much bigger than being just an athlete. Yes, you can be an athlete, and sport is still part of my life, as you know.
It is.
And it guides me and it really molds who I am. And there is not one day where I'm not moving, but we're so much bigger. Yeah, there's so much more, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I look back at my my ex-coach and he's just telling me, you need to step away now. He was so right, and I am still so grateful to him for it.
Okay. And when you stepped away, did it feel at the time hopeless, or was it like, okay, I'm ready for the next phase?
He actually made me feel really ready. So basically I was coaching a lot back then. I had started doing some diving stunts as well at the same time as Alka and Nikki Nutrition. And I was coaching a lot and really, really enjoying it. And he looked at me and he was like, you need to choose, you know. You can right now barely afford to pay me for these sessions. So I was at a low, you know. And he was like, you need to choose. You're either going to swim or you're going to teach or you're going to do everything else. And that was the point for me where I was like, I'm actually loving teaching so much more than I'm loving myself. And that was always one of the most important things for me. If we're not having fun, then I'm doing it wrong.
Okay.
And if I wasn't having fun, then it's time to change.
Okay.
Obviously, it's not always about fun and games, but if you're committing so much time to something and it's not bringing you the utmost joy and you know there's something wrong, clearly, if I can't afford to pay you for the sessions, then it was time to move away.
Yeah. But someone listening to this and they're like, okay, but not everybody can have fun at work or incorporate play in their day. Like, what would you say to that?
I think...
I mean, there's no right or wrong answer.
There's no aha. I mean, I think maybe there are some things where you can't involve, like if you have a 9 to 5 and you're sitting a lot, you know, it's hard to... I'll use a funny example to that, actually. Because as I was a nurse and I was finding it very, very hard to play and have any form of fun, I would go to the bathroom and practice my headstands. So that was my form of like bringing in any form of play into a very stressful job, because I worked in theater, I was in surgery, so it's highly stressful as a new nurse because you know you're quite a beginner.
Yeah.
So anything I could do to bring myself play inside of work, I would do it. And outside of work, I just made sure, or I tried to make sure that there was any form of play going on. And for me back then, it was solely free diving.
Okay.
You know.
So when you're kind of waking, you took a break from the pool and then you're making your way back, right? How did play come into that, and how does it still come into your life today in like the work that you do and just like the person that you show up as?
Yeah, I think, again, that's a big one. Play is a big one for me. And when I feel like I can't play, like my body is resisting it or it doesn't want to or it's not in the mood, then I know there's something wrong. I know I've kind of pushed myself a bit too far, you know. That's my sign to know. But I try to bring fun into every little thing. So for example, if right now I'm doing aerial yoga.
Okay.
Which for me is, I'm not a super land person, but I'm trying. I'm trying. And the fact that we're like in the air and upside down brings me so much joy. Somehow I don't know what it is about being upside down, but I love it. I've tried artistic swimming, which is also synchronized swimming, another word for it, and I love it.
Okay.
I want to do that more often. And again, there's a lot of upside down work there. There's free diving, which is super playful for me. It doesn't have to be necessarily on the line. And there's a lot of playing there. Any yoga, yeah. I mean, it's everywhere for me. And swimming for me was, when I was doing it, it was a lot of fun. The way we swam, maybe it wasn't a lot of fun for many people, but somehow it does bring so much joy. It's essentially what the runner's high is, right? Like after a swim, we feel we're dead, completely exhausted, but there's that element of joy, you know, after.
So would you say that like kind of the first part of like your toolkit that you kind of learned from swimming and now keep through your life is focus on play, and whatever that means for the individual person, like keeping that like inner child alive?
Yeah, that's a big one for me. Yeah.
Okay. And so then coming into this play and diving and whatever, if someone had to look at your Instagram today and they looked at your Instagram, it's just basically you swimming with dolphins.
Looks very polished, right?
Quite polished. Being in Egypt or surfing or anything, like basically just like in a bikini on a beach and swimming.
Yeah, I forgot surfing.
And surfing.
That's waking up every morning on Christmas morning. That's being on a board.
Okay, interesting. So if someone had to like look at your Instagram, they're like, no, she's lucky because she is a professional swimmer. She was lucky enough that she was put into swimming, that she can move the way she does, that she has all these opportunities. What would you say to that? Because I know that when we spoke, you said that sometimes there's not guilt, but it's like you're somehow not shamed, but criticized for maybe going abroad a lot or swimming all over the world or whatever. But little do people know that's actually a job and there's so much that goes behind it.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot to unpack there because, as you said, remind me what you said in the beginning. You asked me a question. Sorry, I'm just going to stop you for 1 second. You asked me something about
your Instagram, that you're just lucky.
Yes, okay, I'll start from there. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'll admit we are super lucky to have everything we have right now, and I was very lucky to be placed in water at a very young age. I would have found water regardless, but the fact that I was put into water at a very young age changed a lot for me, and obviously made the Olympics an opportunity for me and an availability. So I'm not gonna lie, we are very lucky, but I don't like the term of I'm not a fan of perceiving everything as, oh, she's so lucky, because there's so much that goes into everything. And as you said, like my Instagram, of course, like all social media, it looks super polished, and I do try to be as transparent as possible without obviously dampening what I'm actually standing for. But there's so much behind the scenes, and as you said, I look like I travel a lot, and I do, but I never go anywhere without my work phone. You know, so even when I'm diving all day, at the end of that, I need to sit and write sessions, allocate coaches, you know, like plan the week, message clients. I mean, there's all of these things, and the diving trips included, that I need to manage. And I'm not complaining. It's a very, very good problem to have.
Yes, but still a problem.
It's still exhausting, you know. And again, when I did leave my job and I was considering, okay, I think business is something that I'm really leaning towards, and it seems like I have a deep love for, like running my own thing and starting new projects, because I never had a role model in that regard. All my family has followed traditional, I would say, paths. So it was a big wake-up call for me, but I also did not realize how much work really goes into it. I mean, if you don't get up and work, you're not going to get paid. There's no taking a sick day. There's no, oh, I'm tired this month, or, everything is relying on you. So there is that huge pressure that I do still feel to this day. Maybe I won't feel it in a few years, but I really love it. And that's where I think swimming comes back into it, where, how we said, you don't wake up feeling like I want to go jump into a cold pool. It's just, you've committed to this, you do it out of habit, out of routine. You're not finding that motivation to keep going. And I think that's the same for me, business-wise, and keeping fit. And I don't do it in the moment because I'm like super motivated right now.
You just know that future you is going to be like, I'm glad I did it.
And it's part of my routine. You just, I don't know. I don't want to say power through, because I don't like the term of going against what your body is telling you and not listening to your body. But it is kind of following what you've set out to do, if it still feels right for you. Because I also hate the notion of, you've committed to this, you have a goal, you're going to do it regardless. I don't like that, because it makes people feel like they're giving up. And I think we all should have the space to change our minds. And that's for me, people looking at me like, you're constantly changing your mind. And I was in the space where I needed to have the time to change my mind, to start something and realize maybe this isn't exactly it. Because taking Alka as an example, I completely still love the idea, but I figured out very early on that there's no money in research and development projects, and I needed an income, So it was fine for me to do that, follow the plan through that we had committed to for a year, and then change. It wasn't me giving up, it was me following what I was actually meant to be doing.
Yeah. But I think a lot of that comes down to giving yourself the space from something and say, okay, if I had to be really still and quiet right now, what's my gut saying? And because I think, like I say for myself, I'm quite an impulsive person. So I feel like I say yes really quickly to things.
Me too.
And then when a second later, I'm like, man, I was
committed.
Like if I'm at the gym and then after work, I'm feeling good. And someone tells me, hey, Mar, let's go to India next week. I'm like, let's do it.
Let's do it.
And then when I get home, I'm like, no. I mean, okay, maybe not India, but I'm saying in general plans. So I've learned to create a bit of distance between things so that I can say, okay, what do I really want when I'm at a neutral position?
Yeah.
And so that brings me to kind of our next point is that, so if you know that like play is really important, feeling fit is really important. So on days when you wake up and everything is kind of black, like you're feeling like the world's on top of you, what's like the toolkit that you tap into that's like, okay, let's get out of bed and figure it out? Like, well, what does that look like for Nikki?
Yeah, I think I'm going to take you one step back to what you said before about how there's a lot going on around you and you're not really... It's so hard in this day and age, I think, to quiet down all that external noise and try to figure out, okay, people are saying I should do this and people are doing this. And
everyone's like, you have to be productive. You have to make use of every single hour of your day.
Exactly. And that's also me. Like, I've had a big issue with that, where obviously swimming has been part of it because I've been so busy, and if I'm not busy, then I'm doing something wrong. That I've managed to like quiet down a little bit, but it's really hard to listen and just be quiet and listen to what is actually, you know, calling you and what inside is asking for. And that's something that has progressed over time that I'm sure everyone becomes more attuned to. It's very easy to ignore that, you know, in a way. And to go back to your question, I think we all know if we quiet it all down what we need. So for me, I tend to go quiet, and I tend to, if I'm struggling a bit, I tend to pull away from my friends. And that's a bit of a vicious cycle, because when I'm away from my friends, it gets worse. I'm in a little bit of the hole, you know. So I know I have to push through and reach out to them. And then once I'm feeling better, you know, there's so many things that I do first. I meditate straight away. I do yoga. If I'm in a funk, I flip upside down. Like that's my first thing to get the juices flowing. Flip upside down.
Please do not do this at home. Anyone in a funk, do not flip upside down unattended. But that's really interesting. I don't think I've ever heard someone who said, okay, kind of like your world's feeling upside down, so I am too, kind of thing.
It's kind of like you're feeling a bit stuck.
Okay.
You know, you're feeling a bit like you're stuck in a space, or your brain is a bit foggy, or you're not thinking clearly, and you just flip upside down.
Okay, so after you flip upside down, and then you kind of turn,
and then you come back to reality.
Back to earth. And then what would be your next step?
I would free dive.
You would free dive?
Yeah.
Okay.
And mostly because...
the quietness.
Yeah. The water has always been my safe space. It's like a bubble that's like protecting me from everyone else around me. It's just silent. But that was swimming for me. So swimming in a pool, it was very silent. It was my me time, me with my own thoughts, going through it. But freediving takes it one step further, because what I love so much about freediving is anything you are struggling with, once you're a couple of meters underwater, they are the demons you have to face.
Okay.
I love it. You just have to face it. There's no other way. Unless you face it, the sea isn't going to let you in, you know?
So you have to completely
you have to let go. Yeah. And the more you fight it, the more it doesn't let you in. So you kind of have to really face it full on. And anything that you maybe thought wasn't, oh, maybe this isn't such a big problem, or you didn't realize that there was something growing a bit inside of you, it's going to show you. And I love it, because you come out always feeling like reborn.
Okay.
It's an exaggeration, I know, but truly, try it.
No, I mean, I've tried free diving. I don't go as deep as you
don't
or
have to.
a lot of people.
You don't have to.
But I definitely love the quietness of water. I mean, like from swimming, sometimes I just like literally find a body of water, put my head down, and I just don't want to hear anything or anyone.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine what you must feel when you're even deeper. It gets a bit colder. Like everything shifts, like you're saying. And there's like that mental shift. So basically flipping upside down, free diving.
Because free diving is also upside down.
Free diving is also upside down. And is there anything land-based? Meditation, you said?
Meditation, yoga.
Yoga.
There's aerial yoga now. That's a big form of play. It's me pushing my comfort zone.
So whenever you're in any funk, it's move. Just get moving.
Just
get moving and community.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my number one. Yeah.
Okay. And Nikki today, what does Nikki's life look like today?
My ideal life or my daily life?
You can start from the ideal and then bring us back down to reality.
They're a bit different because if I had it my way, I would move all day.
Okay.
But part of obviously my day is helping other people move.
Uh-huh.
So I'm coaching in the morning, then I move myself, and then I go back to coach
Coaching.
people again in the afternoon. So there was a lot of movement. So
Okay.
by the end of the day, I'm kind of exhausted, which is how I like it.
Yeah.
But my ideal day would be moving all day. Honestly, like I work out on my birthday. I love it.
Okay.
People always look at me like, one day on your birthday, you should.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's like what I love about it is if I have any time off or if I'm on holiday, that's all the time in the world for me to move. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love doing. So of course I'm going to move as much as I can on holiday, you know. But yeah, maybe I should delve into the diving trips a bit because that's also an ideal day.
Okay. So besides the coaching, you're also now doing diving trips. I had the honor of going on your first one.
On my
to
first ever one.
Egypt, which was so much fun. And I mean, it just sounds crazy. We spent a week on a boat diving with dolphins. Like, it doesn't sound real. Lots of laughing.
CGI, guys.
Lots of laughing and just like literally there swimming and being like, is this real?
This
like,
is
are
our
they
reality
real?
now, yeah.
Having
Having breakfast and watching them come up to us at the same time.
it was really, really insane. So is that something that you're planning on doing like long term, like taking groups up with you to Egypt? I know there are other locations you'd like to explore. Is that something you're gonna keep doing?
Yeah. So basically when I had roughly mentioned that I wanted to, my ultimate dream was to be a marine biologist. That's how Alka came around, basically. I was like, what can I do now to help, you know, to focus on conservation? And I just tried to find not the fastest route, but things we could do now. And I really feel like business is truly one of the ways to change things if you do it properly, like ecotourism and things like that. And one of I think my life goal or my life dream is to be able to take people diving with sharks.
Okay. I knew a few people that would hesitate
to do that.
Very much.
Yeah.
In fact, when we were in Egypt, we kept praying we'd see a shark. And I'm just like at the back of the boat, like, is she mad? Like, I don't want to see a shark. I'm good. Like,
but that's how people see me. So misunderstood. And that's why I connect so much with them, because people are so quick to judge sharks.
Nick, I know you love the sea and you're thinking of sharks. I don't think sharks are thinking of you.
Of me.
In the same way.
I'm not saying that I'm not saying that they're these like friendly little puppies. They're obviously clearly not. But that's why we need good tours to be able to teach people how to navigate them, and that's the way we have to protect them. Like Power
We're going to lose a lot of listeners at this point.
Ciao, guys. We quit. That's my ultimate dream, because the only way for people to protect things that they don't understand is for them to understand them and find a love for them. So if people can dive with them and see that they are not these crazy, malicious creatures that we see on TV, and that the media portrays them out to be, and that there is a way for us to
interact,
live together in harmony. Then maybe people will realize that they are at the top of the food chain, and being at the top of the food chain means that they are the most important thing in the water. So yeah, basically that is my life dream, and this is me working up to that goal. Obviously I love diving with dolphins. They are my favorite now after that trip. They are my favorite animal to play in the water with. But then when it comes to just being in the water with an animal, sharks have this insane effect on us, which is calm. You have to be calm around them. It's amazing. Anyway, enough about sharks.
It's so funny because when I think sharks, I don't think calm. Like, even though I understand that they will probably provoke mostly if they are provoked. But I think if I saw a shark, I would just...
You wouldn't feel...
calm would be the last word I would use.
But you think so. Honestly, you think so. It's almost like an adrenaline rush that makes you straight into like moving slowly. Because they are calm. They're
Nick,
moving
I go
slowly.
swimming every Saturday in the sea. And our biggest fear
And
is,
you're
are the
dreading it.
jellyfish? Are the jellyfish?
No, jellyfish I'm not a fan of.
I mean, so if you're saying like a shark, yeah, I think I would need quite a bit of
convincing,
meditation pre-shark swim.
That's included, don't worry.
Yeah, okay, cool. Because I think if I went on a trip, I probably wouldn't tell my parents.
Like I've gone swimming with these massive
I'll tell them
sharks.
after the fact. So
Yeah.
that's so interesting.
Yeah. So to go back to your original question, I would like to be doing this for the foreseeable future, and building on locations as I grow and plod along, and eventually work my way up to big sharks.
Okay. I feel like we've covered a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a few more questions. And before I ask you 5 closing questions that I like to ask all of my guests,
Mm-hmm.
I want to say, what is the advice that you wish you got when you were at the low point post-Olympics, stopping nursing, not knowing what's next? Like, what do you wish you had had? And if you could tell someone this advice, what would it be?
Heavy loaded. I think there's so many things, but I think the main thing that I would have needed to hear is that
Those
reassurance. Yes, which I did. I did actually. That reassurance that it's gonna be okay. Like it's all gonna come together, and it doesn't have to all come together at the same time. It's all gonna happen. I still tell myself this because I struggle with it. It's all gonna happen. You can achieve all of your dreams, just not all at once.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there's so much pressure for, the early 20s and figuring it out, and everyone's like hustling. Just do it all, have fun, and let the universe do its thing, because it's really rooting for you to succeed, and just do everything that your heart is calling for, and it's going to align. Essentially, trust your process, even though I know that's so hard in the moment.
I think it's hard, but I think as well, if you take a step back, you can see there are common threads, and I think if you start to draw out those common threads, swimming was always going to be a part of it. Having some kind of autonomy was always going to be a part of it. Building a community, that's always going to be a part of it. And now, you coach, you've got an amazing swimming community, you have play incorporated. So I think if everyone, not everyone, but people who are in a similar position take a step back and say, okay, what are the common threads and where do I feel alive? And it can be the simplest of things.
Yeah.
Literally, I was a few years ago walking, not even in Malta, and just saying, I love listening to podcasts. Like, how cool would that be?
And that was it.
And that was like a thread that I kept on pulling.
It's amazing.
So
it's also people trying to figure it out, like, so early on in life. Like, we have time. It's okay.
Yeah.
And just, like, looking back, had I known what I know now, maybe I wouldn't have taken all of those steps, and maybe I wouldn't have struggled so much with imposter syndrome. But all of those little steps and the crazy routes that people thought I was a bit loony for built me up and taught me so much to be who I am now and run everything that I run now with confidence. Because if I was running everything I'm running now back then, like, who I am to think I can do this? Who the hell do I think I am? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But because we've learned so much and we've done so much and we've grown and we've let it take its pace, I feel like now we have the confidence to be like, yes, I know what I'm doing. I've done all of this. I can do this.
Yeah.
And
it's really funny because I read this recently that I heard this recently, if someone had told you, okay, I'm going to take away like the tough things that you went through, but as a consequence, you don't get any of the learnings or any of the experiences, would you still remove them?
Definitely
and most people
not.
say not, even though, so it's like for anyone going through a bad time or difficult kind of patch, like if in the past it taught you so much, and why this time is it different? It's not. It's just another one of those
and also
things.
the highs wouldn't be such highs.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give up my highs.
Yeah.
Very high.
That's so cool. Okay, so here are our 6 fire questions. Are you ready? Okay. Where can people go to learn more about you?
Okay, I think my main one is my Instagram.
Okay.
I'm not very good with other social media, but Instagram is the main one.
Okay, what's the handle?
That's Nikki with a triple I and a swim. So NIKK triple I swim.
Very good.
That's my main one.
Okay, and what can people expect from you next?
Wow. I'm currently planning a few more diving trips. We are, so the club that I am coaching for and all our athletes and swimmers that I'm running. They've progressed so much, and this is the year we're finally taking our small club to competition. So we're
Amazing.
very, very excited for the next steps. All our little ones are growing and becoming faster and stronger. So there's a lot of, I feel like I lead a double life with these things. I go abroad and I teach diving, and I come back and I lead these kids and these athletes. So
Amazing.
it's sort of fun.
Okay, what's one of your favorite meals of all time?
Meals. Oh, wow.
You're a
That's hard
vegetarian,
one.
right?
I used to be a vegan.
Okay, you used to be vegan. Okay.
Yeah, now a bit of a plant-based mix.
Okay, so what's your favorite meal of all time? Or your current favorite meal?
Goodness. My current favorite meal. That's a hard one. I would say, very unpopular opinion, vegan carbonara.
Vegan carbonara. Okay. Lost even more
Even
people
more
at this
listeners.
point. Okay. One thing you're currently very grateful for.
My people.
Your people.
Yeah. They know who they are.
Amazing.
They've really kept me sane and grounded through these ebbs and flows in life.
Yeah, that's so simple yet so effective. So I support that. Okay. What's the last thing you Googled?
Wow. Oh, yeah. AG1 greens.
AG1 Greens. Hi, we're looking for a podcast sponsor.
And also heights. Like, what can I do to improve my brain function? Let's try.
Okay, interesting. Okay, and the last thing. What's one thing that people are genuinely surprised to find out about you?
Like, genuinely surprised about me. That's Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. I cannot walk downhill. So usually when you think Olympian, you don't think someone who can't walk, right?
Okay.
You want to watch me coming down like Mount Etna or something like that.
That's
It's a
hilarious.
sight, yeah. April has a few videos of me. Let's do it.
Amazing. This was such a good conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for
I
having
really
me.
appreciate it. Seeing you go from your whole swimming career and who you've become now, like I've told you multiple times. It's fantastic. Super proud of you.
Yeah.
And I hope anyone listening to this who kind of doubts themselves and isn't sure what to do next can kind of learn something from your
I hope
Jenny.
so too. But I look at you in the same way. We started swimming
Thank you.
together and now we're here.
No, we're here. So thank you very, very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you again to Malta Camera Rental and Litos Place. And yeah, hope you guys join in for the next one and we'll speak very soon.
Yeah.